Hey, and welcome to the Publish Press podcast. I'm Steve Burge from Publish Press, and I'm here with my co-host, Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Knaus from Multidots, and today we spoke with Simea Merki from Morntag in Switzerland about their family company for people working together now in, established family business, working with publishers, often traditional publishers coming from print to digital, and maybe increasingly the other way around from WordPress or some other publishing system, and who still want to be able to do beautiful print design and menus and things like that. I also talked about their tools they're using and how AI is impacting their work and their clients' industries.
Yes, Simea and her family, and when I say family, we really do mean that. She has her dad, her husband, and her sister helping her out too. Her agency helps people navigate between different worlds, between different linguistic worlds, because they have clients who need to deal in English, multiple versions of German, French, Italian, and they have businesses that need to navigate all those different languages. And also she helps them navigate between the old-fashioned world of PDFs and magazines and navigate from there to the online world and to the world of AI and YouTube as well now. So consulting is a big part of what she does too. And this was a really fascinating conversation. Let's turn it over to Simea. Hey, Simea, welcome to the Publish Press podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, Simea, you are part of a company called Montag.
Yeah, exactly. We're based in Switzerland. Many people don't know where that is. It's south from Germany.
Oh, well, you're part of a whole kind of the German-speaking part of Europe, right? You're kind of in the north part of Switzerland, up near Germany.
Yeah, exactly. From where I live, it's like half an hour to Germany. And the area is called DACH region. So that means Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And that's also where we have our clients in the DACH region.
Okay, so you speak German, obviously excellent English as well. Okay, I was doing some Googling about you before we got on the podcast, and you're a singer as well, right?
Yeah, that's like a side hustle of mine, yeah.
Sorry. And when I came across that, you sing in English, Bernese German, High German. It gets very complicated for us as English speakers. So you can sing in English plus like 3 or 4 different versions of German as well.
Yeah. Many people actually don't know that Switzerland has a very strong dialect. Some who have been at WordCamp probably heard it. It doesn't sound like German, and most German people will not understand when we speak. It's called Swiss German. And then each canton in Switzerland, so each area has their own dialect, which is very diverse. So, for example, my husband came from another region in Switzerland, and at one point I had to translate between him and my grandma because they didn't understand the dialects. Yeah, so that's really special for Switzerland. Also that we have 4 languages as national languages. So that would be German, Italian, French, and then 1 4th language that's called Romansh. And we're very multilingual here.
I don't think I've ever met a Swiss person that can't talk in 2, 3, 4 different languages. It's being multilingual is a natural skill growing up, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's also taught in schools, obviously, so you can't really get around it.
Oh, so if you go to a school in Switzerland, you're going to learn multiple languages at the same time?
Yeah. So I had English since kindergarten, and then French from third grade on, and German, obviously, since I was able to read books, because there's no written language for Swiss German. There's only the spoken language. So whenever you read, it's always High German. So basically, when you start reading books as a kid, you learn a second language, and then from then it goes on, and you gradually learn new languages. Yeah.
So is that an advantage as a publishing company, as a web design company, which Morntag is an advantage to be to be based in the heart of Europe and to have all those language skills. I mean, you must be pretty good at building multilingual WordPress sites, approaching publishing from a multilingual perspective. Is it an advantage in business?
Yeah. I think it is an advantage because we're able to cater to that, and we know how important that is. But on the other side, it's a disadvantage when you think that WordPress is really not built for multilinguality. To some extent, we know our way around now, but we've had to figure out because you always have to use a plugin. There's no way in the core, so. Sometimes it feels like a disadvantage, or I think, how easy projects would be if they only were in one language. But on the other hand, it's a very interesting thing also to see, because I see the whole editors teams of the magazines we cater to, and they have an Italian speaking team, they have a French speaking team, and for me it's very interesting, but sometimes it's also stressful, to be honest.
How good is AI getting at handling dialects and Bernese German?
Not at all.
A little better.
Okay.
Yeah, not too good. Yeah,
I would say not at all. But yeah, also that there's no grammar doesn't make it easier, right? So you can't really teach AI. They just need to listen and understand how
it would have to read.
So
yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
it can't handle not enough source text to read. But yeah, Quebecois, like Canadian French is going to be a little harder for it to manage. It seems like they've picked up a few things, but there's not that much source material to process, though. So
yeah, no, that seems to be the same. Yeah, in Switzerland it's the same. We actually, when we install WordPress, we always pick the original German. I don't like to call it original, but the High German one, because most plugins are also not translated to German Switzerland. So in the WordPress space, we basically stay with the German version. Yeah.
Oh, the German version from Germany, or the Swiss German?
No, the German. Because, for example, one very good example is Elementor. When you install it and you have your site in Swiss German or Germany, I think it's called German Switzerland or something like this. If you set it to that, some, and actually many, menu items in the backend are not translated and they're English. So it's very stressful to work with Elementor when your site is set to German Switzerland. Which happens with every other plugin. So it's really not a great user experience when you set your page to that. So we tend to really set our pages to just the German, because the probability of everything being translated is much higher there, with all the PO files and all the translations that we have going on from the WordPress core and the plugins and the themes.
Do you have a favored approach to building multilingual sites in WordPress? Given you do it so often, do you use WPML? Do you use a multi-site approach? What's your preferred approach?
So we really decide for each project, because I think there's several use cases for several types of multilinguality. So one would be you have the same content just directly translated. That's where you could think of tools like Weglot, where you can automatically translate. That doesn't work with our projects because we need the translations in our database. So we tend to stick with WPML or Polylang. But we have seen and built several types. So that may be a multi-site, that may not be a multi-site. Really depends on how the client wants to work and how their content also works in the different languages.
Okay, so Weglot is a SaaS service. It will offload all the content into its own database, but quite often you need all the content on your site in your own database. And from there, it depends on exactly what needs they have as to which approach. You take WPML is one that keeps coming up, but also there's a company out of Germany, I believe, that will have True Translation Press.
Oh yeah, you mean the plugin by site?
Yes. I think they take a multi-site approach.
Yeah. For most of our projects, that's a bit too complicated because we have one editor that basically looks for all of the content in every language. So we have not yet found the project that fits, but I think that will come up also. It's not that we say one plugin is the best. We always use that because you really can't say it for all the projects that we built. And yeah, it really depends on the project, on the workflows also, on how you work with the offices that then translate. If they need, there's certain file formats that they need for people to export and send to them so they can translate it. One is called XLIF files. And so it really depends on all the things that our clients need. And then we basically have a list of things and we check for which plugin does that the best.
So you are not exactly new to web design, to building websites, but Morntag is not was a publishing company originally, right?
Yeah, we were really in the publishing space. It actually started when my dad learned InDesign when I was 1 year old. And that's when he started being self-employed and teaching people InDesign. And so that's how I also came to the publishing industry. I was just a kid, and then at our table for lunch, we had people that learned InDesign with my dad, and then for lunch, they came and took a lunch break with my family. And so that's how I first got in touch with the publishing industry. And only after, I would say, 10, 15 years, we realized that there's actually I would say a blue ocean out there for many publishing like, how do you say, associations, for example. If they want to automate their content that they have, for example, living in Word documents and InDesign, if they want to automate to web or from web to print, they need a good system for that. And there are systems for that, but they are very license-based. So they tend to be pricier. They tend to be big projects. When you implement it, you can't really start small. So that's when we realized that WordPress could actually be the solution for that. And that's how we came to WordPress. It's basically not a web-first approach, but we searched for solutions, how we can cater to our clients a content-first solution so they can really care for their content and work on their content. The Gutenberg editor is great for that. So they work in their content, and then one day they publish it, and it may go via the MySQL database from WordPress directly to InDesign. It may go directly to a PDF, or it obviously often goes to a web platform in some way, or even third-party platforms, apps, etc. So yeah, we basically came from printing to WordPress, to the web. Web is our secondary skill we learned. Yeah.
I see you have a lot of customers who may have a PDF designed in Adobe, and they need something that is affordable but still high quality to get all that content online. And a lot of the platforms that do it are expensive and proprietary platforms. WordPress is a good option for these smaller companies that need to digitize all their content?
Yes, it is. That's what we see. Yeah.
What kind of customers do you have coming to you? You have people with like trade magazines, people who put out monthly PDFs?
Yeah, we have seen a variety. So we have had clients that were a restaurant and they had a menu that they wanted to change each week, and they didn't want to go to a graphic designer each week to design the menu. So they just got a WordPress site from us and they put up the menu. It's on the website automatically, but also they can just click one button and they have a styled PDF of their menu. So that's like one side of the scale. And the other side of the scale is, for example, the Swiss Scouting Association. They have a magazine that comes out 4 times every year, and they have it in 3 languages, and they want to go digital, and they need a lot more. They need publishing processes, they need planning features, they need obviously capability management and everything. So that's the other end of the scale. And in between, there's lots and lots of use cases. When you also think of web shops, for example, we have one client, they sell they sell products for gardeners. So they have very complex chemical products, and they need fact sheets for that, which is also a PDF. And we're working on that right now, that they can automate those PDFs from WooCommerce directly, because the database from WooCommerce is very similar to WordPress database, or is very close to it. It's in the same database, and you can automate that also. So I would say our sweet spot is really using the content for any channel. It's not really tied to an industry or a brand or a type of business.
So are you going mostly from web to print now? Are most of your projects coming from WordPress or web to print? And previously, was that the opposite, where you had print-based companies trying to get on the web, or is there a mix of both?
I would say there's definitely a mix. We have some clients that ask that they have a WordPress website and they need content to have in a PDF or something like that. But I would say when it comes to publishing projects, when you really think about the magazine projects we're doing, it's really, I would say it's crazy how print first they're still thinking. So they really have their magazine. They have nothing to very little in the web. And they also don't really have the workflows on how to work with simple articles. So they plan for a whole magazine for like every month, every 3 months or so. And their workflows are very different. So that's what we need to work on first. And then in the end, it will be a web first workflow where they cater to the web first. And then eventually they will produce a printed issue from that. But where they come from is mostly print first thinking and print first producing. It's not at all a digitized market there. Yeah.
Well, some of these organizations probably have magazines that go back 30, 40, 50 years, maybe. These are very deeply ingrained in their organizations, right? I imagine something like the Swiss Scouting Association may have been putting out a magazine for decades now.
Exactly. Yeah. So they put out one every 4 times a year, and they're now at like issue number 40 or 45 even. So that has history. Yeah, and it's not one of the older magazines we're working on. So we have clients that have printed for 15 years or so. Their magazines, they live on paper. And that's also a very strategic subject sometimes. How do you get not only the people working on the magazine, but also the people that are subscribing to that magazine to a digital world? What do they want? What do they need? Is it the same content that you want to print? Is it the same style that you want to have? That's all kinds of things you need to discuss in the first place.
Do you find yourself often getting requests to basically just recreate the PDF, recreate the magazine online? I remember there used to be those attempts, like in Flash, to literally recreate the magazine. You try and there'd be flip pages, extensions for content management platforms. You probably have to do quite a bit of work, maybe to talk them out of it, to help them navigate from a magazine fixed format to the web format. There's quite a lot of consulting and maybe training involved.
Yeah, I think the statistics speak for themselves. There were statistics from a German institute that actually looked into those flipbooks or those flipbook PDFs that are in the web, and they basically found out that people don't really have a lot of appreciation for that. I put the article in our blog. I can maybe send you that link because I think it's very interesting. It's about how people really appreciate a well printed version. Quality printed version, and they really appreciate a good digital version, by which I would mean HTML first, works on mobile, is responsive version. And in between, they try to add a flipbook. And in my opinion, I sometimes have the feeling that it's mostly for the people that maybe have to go digital. They think they can put it off with a flipbook, and they say, yeah, that's enough. But I would say that most readers, the ones that are really consuming that content, they don't want that. They need something that works on their device that they have on the go, on their smartphone, on their tablets. And by nature, PDFs are not responsive. So that discussion ends quite fast. So I really try to emphasize that it's really about the people that are consuming the content, and that when you focus there, the flipbook is not really the nice solution. In reality, we often still put a flipbook on the website also to bridge a bit between the printed version and the web version. But I would never consult on making a flipbook instead of HTML web version.
Do you find hesitation in clients nowadays because of AI, LLMs absorbing all of the content that they can get hold of? Are you finding clients that are rethinking whether they should bring their archives online, and how is that shaping the kind of projects you do?
Well, it is definitely a subject, though I have to say for the smaller publishing houses we are working for, sometimes it's a ride or die question. It's not really the question if you want to digitize, it's how and how fast you can. So mostly that tends to be a side discussion, very much so, but not the main subject. We discuss a lot about paywalls and all those things. But I also don't have the solution. I think we also need to see the coming years how that works, how that can work for people also still to be paid to produce content. However, I would say in our area where we work with the clients, it's mostly really you need to go digital. How do you do it, and how fast can you do it? Because otherwise, you just lose all your subscribers, and that's not the alternative. So if you try to balance which one is the worst, then it becomes clear that you don't want to lose your subscribers. You want to cater to them first. Yeah. But it is a discussion I have not solved for myself yet.
It sounds like you do like a lot of strategic work as well. Montag started as an Adobe training company by the sounds of it, and then transitioned into web design with the WordPress side of things. And when you have companies that are stuck between that Adobe, the print version, and the online WordPress version, getting them from one world to the other, or maybe bridging the two, it sounds as if you need to provide some strategy, some business skills, some advice to your customers too.
Yeah, that's a very essential part of our work, actually. We hardly ever build a project that big, like with a publishing project. We hardly ever build it without starting with a pre-project that really involves all those workshops that you may need for digitizing the workflows, for getting people to understand how web works, what is important to them, how they can also produce content that is not printed, like videos or audio and all those things. So we bring that up very, very early, because we want then to build something that works for them with those changes. So that's definitely always an essential part. Yeah.
So are you still a family company? You said your dad started the company, and did I read that your husband works with you too?
Exactly, he's sitting right over there coding. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
We're 4 people. Yeah, okay. We are 4 people. So we have 2 coders. One mostly focuses on front end, also React, JavaScript, Gutenberg programming, and the other one, who is my husband, is more the backend guy for all the database stuff and everything like that. Then we have my sister, who is also part of the family, and she is basically working for the design of the project. So she does really build the front end of the site. And then I am more project manager, strategic, which is all 4 of us. My dad retired in the meantime, since we started Morntag in 2021, I think.
What does Montag mean? Apologies for my rudimentary German. Where does the name come from?
It's actually something that works only in Swiss German and not in High German. It's a good example. Okay. So morn means tomorrow in Swiss German, and Montag means Monday in German and Swiss German. And so we tried to combine those words of morn, tomorrow, and Montag, Monday. And so we have I think you could call it Tomorrow Day. So it's like a fusion of Monday and tomorrow, which we try to emphasize. It's really important that you don't lose yourself in everyday work, without thinking of tomorrow, which we are seeing actually with our publishing clients, that they have a lot of work to do. Their daily business is extremely stressful. They have, all the deadlines. They need to print their magazines on a certain date. And still in that pace, it's really important to not forget, tomorrow and how you should innovate to stay there. So that's how that came about. Yeah.
So the clients you have come to you not looking for WordPress in particular. It sounds as if maybe they could care less what the platform is. WordPress is your choice. They come to you because of the pain points they're feeling and the need to transition to the online world.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes when I have to describe what our company does, I say we're a mix between a web design company and a publishing software building company. So there's a mix of both elements, and both are very important. So we have the web knowledge to basically rebuild stuff in the Gutenberg editor, build blogs for them, do everything they need on the digital side of things. But we also have an understanding for them as a publishing instance. For example, I just recently had a call with a client, and she said, yeah, we did a website relaunch some years ago with just some web agency, but they just didn't understand our subject. And I thought, I think that's really where our sweet spot is. We are able to understand because we've seen many go through that process. We've seen many print first workflows. And sometimes when I talk to someone who lives in WordPress only or web only, they don't even know that those publishing workflows still exist, where you send not even web-based, where you send Word files or anything like that between each other, and that's the workflow. They don't know that exists, so it's hard to understand. And that's basically, I would say, where our sweet spot is. We're able to understand that, while still we have the technical knowledge to really cater for all their needs, to digitize in a good way, and not only do the minimum or the flipbook version. Not to brag about flipbooks, but I think it's not the optimal solution when you think about the digital world and the web. Yeah.
Well, you have a software platform now called Pressdify, that you guys have built to try and help this transition between WordPress and PDFs.
Yeah, this actually started as a plugin that we found from a colleague from Germany. He's called Andreas Zettel, and it's a print CSS plugin. So print CSS is basically like CSS for the web. It's also the same semantics and everything, but the output is not a website, but a PDF. And he built a WordPress plugin that can take WordPress posts and create a PDF from it. And at one point, he had other projects, the developer, and we thought, let's keep working on that. And so Andreas basically gave it over to us, all the things he built. He built it on an open source license, and we are now working on that plugin also. It's essentially a WordPress plugin that allows you to create templates, to automate posts, custom post types with all your fields and everything you have, to a PDF. So the menu I talked about earlier is built with Pressdify, so that they can,
from the restaurant, right?
Yeah, exactly, the restaurant menu.
Every week they can update their menus, spit out a PDF using Pressdify.
Exactly. And what Pressdify does is two things. It's basically the template that lives inside of WordPress that defines how your PDF looks, and that gets all the content information. And then that whole package is sent to a print rendering service, PDF rendering service that we host, and which is basically the SaaS we sell, but the plugin itself is on an open source license. And the whole product is called Pressdify.
Awesome. How far could how far could you go with it? Could you make like an ebook, for example? Could you make maybe a magazine? How far could you push Pressdify if you wanted to flip your workflow from being, instead of being Adobe first and print first, how far could you take this and flip your workflow to being web first and then exporting?
I mean, you can take it very far. Print CSS is actually a really interesting subject to dig into if you're a nerd or a publishing nerd. There's lots of possibilities, from footnotes to rules where you want a page break and where you don't want a page break, from basically fixed layouts where you want the images, where you want the text. All of that would work. However, we see in the practical work that for magazines, it's not enough flexible, or when you then come to printing a magazine, you really want to also make it some kind of an art, I would say. So when somebody reads a magazine, they want to lay back, they want to enjoy their coffee and the magazine. So you really want to go a bit beyond with the design, and you don't want every page to look like a rule book. So that's, I would say, there are the lines where we draw, where we say, if you want your magazine to be a layback medium, where you drink your coffee beside, then maybe go to InDesign, get your content to InDesign automated, and then really focus on the design work there, make it creative. But for everything else, why not Pressdify, or why not print CSS as technology? There's lots of flexibility.
Does Pressdify? Sorry, Steve.
No, go for it.
Does Pressdify handle like a Gutenberg kind of block-based theme environment where the content is coming out of WordPress from that kind of layout where content is structured through Gutenberg blocks?
So you can work with Gutenberg and then export that to the PDF. Print CSS works with HTML, so basically you would just implement that. For other instances where you really have the same structure each time, you maybe don't want to rebuild that. We build that with custom fields. So going back to the restaurant menu, there's a fixed field for the daily meal that they serve on Monday. There's the one for Tuesday and everything. So there's fields for that. You can do both. You can combine. There's not a second editor. It really gets the content from Gutenberg directly. And then if you need to change something on the go to the PDF, you can add that in the CSS. When it comes to hiding things that you don't want in the PDF or so, you can do that in the CSS. But the HTML is basically the WordPress content itself.
Is Pressdify supporting the WooCommerce store you mentioned as well that sells chemicals? You mentioned that they put the safety information, the information about the chemicals into WooCommerce, and then need to spit out a PDF.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we love WooCommerce, because it's so close to the core. It really looks very familiar when you're familiar with the WordPress data structures. Then WooCommerce is easy. If there's one field that wouldn't work, or you can't get in, you can just use a PHP function in the functions file that you add a custom field there. So technically, a lot is possible. I won't say everything, because then our coders will hit me. But they can do a lot. We also do that as a service. We build a template, but there's lots of types of content you can get to Pressdify. Basically anything that lives in your WordPress database.
What's been really interesting, and I've only just realized this about half an hour into our conversation, is we haven't mentioned the letters A and I so far in this conversation. How do you think about that as someone who works very closely with print magazines? It's almost as if they still exist in a slightly old-fashioned world where content is handcrafted, where the pages are put together using Adobe in a very creative way. Is AI impinging on what you do and what these publishers do, or are we still in a very manual process?
I would say as is, most of them are in a very manual process. However, I would say it would be hard to find a publishing house where nobody's used ChatGPT or anything like that. So I think in real life, people use it. And I happen, as a side hustle at Morntag, I happen to also hold workshops for agencies how to use AI. So prompting is really something I would say is a good skill of mine. And I think that's where that comes in. The publishing houses will need to learn AI. They will need to learn how to work with a chatbot so the quality will not, how do you say? So that, quality will not decrease while you use AI. So I think that's the big part of the job. I assume it will not be a question of using AI or not using AI, but it will rather be the job on how to use AI so you can uphold your quality and make it maybe even better, because there's a possibility of that. Also, when I see the manual work that people do sometimes in those publishing houses, from tagging content to shortening content for an excerpt, all those things that are not really the core of their work. There, I would say, why not use AI? That's really freeing up their time to do different things. And also, another thing I see when we talk about AI in the publishing industry is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Notebook LM, for example, tool of Google, where you can even create video overviews of subjects now. And why not use AI to create more digital first content? Maybe if you're not technically skilled, why not create a video with AI that really summarizes your main points that you wrote about or something like that? I can really see that bridging a gap there, because most editors I know and authors I know from the publishing houses we have as clients, they are not as skilled as your typical Gen Zer who can just put up a video on their smartphone and do anything with that and put it on YouTube. They're not that skilled for that. And so I think AI could come in handy there to really create rich form content, video, audio, not only text. Yeah, I think that's my take.
That's almost a brand new feature. I think I remember being on Notebook LM maybe 2 months ago, and it could do podcasts. It could take your documents and make a nice podcast of a man and lady talking back and forth about your topics. But now they can do video as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a new feature. It's like 2 weeks old. It's really impressive. You have to test it out. Yeah. I really think that's a way of how that all could work for us. How we could use that.
Just yesterday, for the first time, talking about video moving quickly, I was watching a video of a Japanese person explain a new WordPress feature. In fact, I think this is now getting several levels deep in terms of talking about AI. But this Japanese guy was talking about a new automatic feature that could generate Gutenberg blocks from just a text prompt. You say, I want a block to show the weather in Switzerland, and this automatic feature would spit out a Gutenberg block to do exactly that. But the guy had done the whole thing in Japanese. And I think YouTube had automatically dubbed it all into English. And I just sat there watching the video in English, and apart from a couple of glitches, this 20-minute video was just as good as watching a native English speaker, really.
Yeah. That's a native feature in YouTube. We have that in the German-speaking area too. So when you open up an English podcast or video on YouTube, it will translate. Not only translate, but how do you say it? You hear somebody talking in German that actually would be speaking English. Yeah. Also multilingual. I mean, there's lots of possibilities when you think of AI. Yeah.
I think maybe I saw that on your blog, on publishing.blog, which is a site that you run. You had an interview maybe with someone at WordCamp Europe, and maybe provided, he was an English speaker, I think, Noel Talk, I want to say, and you provided a German dubbed version of the interview you did with them?
You don't provide it. YouTube does it on their own.
Okay.
That's the crazy thing about it. Yeah, there's no work for us to do. Yeah.
Okay, so these are things which are moving really, really quickly. I mean, we're talking about things that have features, capabilities that have dropped in the last couple of weeks. These are the kind of things that your consulting, that your training helps with when it comes to these customers who are not just perhaps stuck in a slightly old-fashioned way of working, but also just don't have the time to catch up if their business requires them to hit deadlines each month. A lot of the work that you do at Morntag sounds as if it's helping them catch up with this new era.
Yeah. I think that's what you could describe as our mission statement. I would never tie WordPress to our core values or something like that, because I don't know, one day maybe another open source tool will come and we would evaluate that as being more useful for our clients. So we would use that. So I think really at the heart of our work also is usability. So it's not about the craziest new idea, the craziest AI feature or anything like that. It's really on how you can adapt and use that in your everyday work. And that's what we do with the WordPress systems also. It's not about them having the craziest publishing tool that they can they will never require them to never work again or something like that. It's mostly that we have a very limited budget and we do the best in our abilities to get the best out of them, out of that for them. So I would say that practicability is really an important part of our work. When you have associations, they often have a fixed budget, or we hear things like, oh, if it's above that price, we need to ask everyone in the association if they're ready to do it. So you really have to maybe even rectify everything you're doing and be sure that everyone needs that. And that's also healthy, I think. That's also why I love to work with smaller publishing houses, because you really have to prove that what you're building is worth the price, is usable, is helpful. And I think that's what AI has to prove as well in the future years, how usable it is for everyday work and how practical it is and if it's worth the money. Yeah.
You mentioned grade earlier. In that same line of thought, are there certain other WordPress tools, or even beyond WordPress plugins or tools you commonly use, or companies you partner with frequently, that are especially good complements for maybe Pressdify? You've mentioned some like WPML and Polylang. Grade briefly came up. I think of like 10up's 8-day week when I look at Pressdify. What are some of your helpful complementary tools that you find yourself using, and maybe some partners you have in the space?
So you mean for tools that we implement for our clients on that, or that we use ourselves?
Well, either one. Yeah. What pairs well with your work beyond the tools you've developed, like Pressdify?
Yeah. So it really depends on the client that we have. Obviously, we're on the Publish Press podcast for a reason. We've used Publish Press Suite for years. We also used Multicollab for years. I'm excited to see how that will be in some years when the commenting features in the core. Yeah. But I mean, there's many plugins that we use frequently, but it's really hard to say like that one is a fix for us, because we really try to implement as little as possible, only when it's needed. And we try to deactivate everything that's not needed, because a great deal of usability for our systems is speed. So we now also learned React deeply, and we started integrating lots of features on our own. So we don't use a plugin that maybe has 10 features and we need one of it. So that really came in handy. So when it comes to really catering our clients, well, I have to say also custom code is a very important part. And with custom code, we maybe come to tools we use on ourselves. Our clients are big fan. Our clients are coders are big fans of Claude Code, of the Gemini API, and all those tools. We use that daily. And for organizing our work, I have to mention ClickUp. That's a really helpful feature. I also know lots of publishers who use it. ClickUp is a task management suite, and it also has AI integrated now. So I have the ClickUp Brain, it's called, and I can chat about my tasks, and that's really handy for me as a project manager. Yeah, and then really maybe I need to mention Notebook LM because we started putting up a notebook for each project. And so I put up everything we work out in the workshops in the pre-project. So everything that is fixed, all the user roles, all the workflows, everything. I document that really good and detailed. And then I put up all those PDFs into one Notebook LM. And then all our coders, designers, everyone who works on the project, that they know everything from Notebook LM. So they basically ask the notebook and not me. And that's really one thing that helps. And I'm just now working on a project where we have the workshop for the editors by the end of the week. And I'm thinking of creating video content to explain to them their new system. So I'll see how that works with the new Notebook LM feature, but I think those are the kinds of work that make it fun working with AI, not only being faster and then handing off some Excel files, but also thinking of how can we create the content through AI that is really, how do you say that people understand it well and want to listen to it, want to consume it, want to learn with it. So I would say Notebook LM is really a game changer for us as well.
So hypothetically, you're dealing with the Swiss Scouting Association. They have French, German, Italian. Those are their three key languages. You might be able to create a how-to video, say in German, and then have it dubbed into French and Italian for different parts of the organization.
That's exactly what I'm working on right now. Yeah. And it's actually very good advantage because I'm not able to speak Italian and my French is not that well that I would be able to teach them in French. So to teach them the key principles in their native language, something I can't do, but AI can.
Okay, so you may be far more multilingual than either me or Dan, but there's a limit to how many languages
There's a limit.
Speak.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, your French and Italian are not quite as good as your English and German.
Cool. No, I don't speak Italian at all. Yeah.
So, Simea, there's one question that we ask everyone that comes on the podcast at the end, and that is, our guests are all in publishing, have an interest in publishing. Is there a publisher, a writer, someone whose work you really admire at the moment? Someone who maybe sends out a newsletter or writes a blog who you always pay attention to when their newsletter drops in your inbox?
Oh, that's a good question. I have the newsletter of James Clear. I'm not sure if you know him. He's the guy that wrote Atomic Habits. His newsletter, I think, is very relevant. Each week is something that I think, it's really a good thought. Can I
He
say
breaks
multiple?
it down into like 3 or 4 thoughts, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's like a 3-2-1 structure. I think it's really easy to read and you're through it fast, but still it makes you think. Yeah.
Cool. And it sounds as if you have some others on your mind as well.
Yeah, if I may.
Go for it.
Yeah, I just read a book called 4,000 Weeks. I just forgot the name of the author.
Berkman.
Oh yeah, Oliver Berkman was it? Yeah. That's a really good book. I have to see if you can follow him for a newsletter or something like that. But that book really, I just became a mom 2 years ago, and that really changed on how my business and home and everything, how that cooperates and sometimes disturbs each other. So that's really helpful, that book, to maybe also be a bit lighter and to understand that it's not as important to get every deadline every time. So for me, it was a really enlightening book. Yeah, and on YouTube, it's Matt Diavella. I don't know if you know him. He's a YouTube creator. He does loads of like self experiments where he tests out taking a cold shower every day for 30 days and stuff like that. He's also a minimalist, and I really admire his take on just trying out and then seeing if it works. After 30 days, he maybe keep it, he maybe doesn't. So that's a really fun guy to watch.
Well, that probably really nicely sums up our conversation today. I asked you to name a publisher you admire, and you came back with a newsletter writer. I guess James Clear writes books as well, but you talked about his newsletter, you talked about a book, and you talked about a YouTube creator. That we talk about publishing, but all of those are different aspects of the same thing, right? Creating content that people are interested in consuming.
That's true. Yeah, that's also one of our go-to sentences. We always tell our clients relevance not only comes through content, but also the content in the right place at the right time. That's relevance, and the right channel, obviously. So relevance also means where you put it, how you put it, and not only what you say. So where you put it, how you put it may be our job. What to say is maybe our client's job. But if that works together smoothly, you really get a new relevance. Yeah.
Awesome. And where can people keep up with your content, keep up with you, Simea?
Yeah, so our company website is morntag.com. And our blog is publishing.blog. You mentioned it already. We are also on YouTube, just starting out. So
I saw that.
You can also search for.
I was looking for your presence on social media, and your YouTube channel, unusually for an agency, seemed by far your most active channel.
Yeah, we really try, because we noticed that people like to watch the videos and tend to not read the newsletter as much as earlier, some years earlier. So yeah, that's a relevance project there that we try to find the right channel. Yeah. And I'm on LinkedIn. If somebody wants to connect, it's linkedin.com/in/Simea. So only my name can find me there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Simea.
Thank you.